It was said to be very painful. Immediately after the amputation, he received news that another operation would have to be done on the other leg. However, he decided to enlist the help of a different doctor named Joseph Lister, of Listerine fame. Under Lister's care, he was able to keep his other leg by undergoing intensive surgery of the remaining foot. While recovering from the surgery in the infirmary, he was moved to write the words of the poem Invictus. Another well-known philosopher, Henry Ford, once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way you're right." I'm not sure I'd go that far, but one thing is for certain: the only way you can guarantee an outcome in anything in this life is not to try it. The outcome, of course, will be that nothing gets done, but at least you've risked nothing in the effort. For some, the certainty of the outcome outweighs the possibility of failure that accompanies the attempt. But for those of us who wish to move forward with life, work, love, or anything of importance, the first step is always believing that success is possible, even if not probable. Often the way is not clear, the methods unknown, untested, the resources seemingly unavailable, even the end goal itself, elusive, unfixed, or ill-defined, frightening. A leap of faith is required, and for the non-believers among us that requires even more chutzpah, a good Yiddish word for audacity. Yes, negative thinking has a well-deserved reputation for preventing many worthwhile goals from ever being attempted. But here's today's lesson. Positive thinking alone is not enough. Its sole value is to get you off the blocks at the start of the race and to keep you moving. Thinking you can achieve something means nothing if you don't actually try. What would the lesson be of the little train who thought he could as he sat it out on the side tracks? If you let it make you complacent or rely completely on faith that some higher power or others will fulfill your needs and desires, positive thinking can be just as damaging as the negative type. I'm reminded of the recent story of the man who froze to death praying for rescue in his snowbound car when help and warmth were less than a mile up the street. Or the variation of the old parable, God will save me. Terrible storm came into town and local officials sent out an emergency warning that the riverbanks would soon overflow and flood the nearby homes. They ordered everyone in the town to evacuate immediately. A faithful man heard the warning, decided to stay, saying to himself, "I will trust in God, and if I am in danger, then God will send a divine miracle to save me." The neighbors came by his house and said to him, "We're leaving. There's room for you in our car. Please come with us." But the man declined. "I have faith that God will save me." As the man stood on his porch watching the waters rise up the steps, a man in a canoe paddled by and called to him, "Hurry and come into my canoe. The waters are rising quickly." But the man again said, "No thanks. God will save me." The flood waters rose higher, pouring water into his living room. The man had to retreat to the second floor. A police motorboat came by and saw him at the window. "We will come up and rescue you," they shouted, but the man refused, waving them off, saying, "Go save someone else. I have faith God will save me." The flood waters rose higher and higher, and the man had to climb to his rooftop. A helicopter spotted him and dropped a ladder. A rescue officer came down the ladder, pleaded with the man, "Grab my hand and I will pull you up." But the man still refused, folding his arms tightly on his body. "No, thank you. God will save me." Shortly after the house broke up, the floodwaters swept the man away and he drowned. Later in heaven, the man stood before God and asked, "I put all my faith in you. Why didn't you come and save me?" And God said, "Son, I sent you a warning. I sent you a car. I sent you a canoe. I sent you a motorboat. I sent you a helicopter. What more were you looking for?" Now, even the atheists among us can glean the lesson from this story. It's not enough to believe that you can overcome. The belief must be translated into action if anything positive is to come of it. Heed the warnings. Accept the offers of help. Grasp the outstretched hand. Do what you can to put your faith into action. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "It's the action, not the fruit of the action, that's important. You have to do the right thing. It may not be in your power, may not be in your time that there'll be any fruit, but that doesn't mean you stop doing the right thing. You may never know what results come from your action, but if you do nothing, there will be no result. I know firsthand what a tall order this can be. Time after time, I've personally had my legs knocked out from under me just as I thought I was finding my way. I grew up as a meticulous planner. I'll go to this school, get this degree, then that job, work a while, get noticed, make a name for myself, do great works, be rewarded, have a great relationship, endow great public arts, die rich, happy, and famous. Then life happened. I didn't go to that school. Oops. Rewrite. Then again and again. Why wouldn't life cooperate with my schedule? Bad bosses, bad relationships, money problems. None of these were supposed to happen to me. I soon learned that planning too far ahead was a fool's game. On my 30th birthday, I was diagnosed with HIV. This was the beginnings of the AIDS years, and there was no rational basis to believe I would live for another 10, if that. All plans went out the window. What was the value of delayed gratification with no possibility of a payout? What was I saving myself for? Why save money? Why invest? Why indeed? However, as it turns out so far, in my more sober moments of reflection, it could be said this experience has molded me more powerfully and made me a stronger person than the realization of my cursory and shallow early plans ever could have. Very quickly, events beyond my control took center stage. I played no part in the development of drugs that have given me another shot at life. Things may have turned out quite differently. Most of my compatriots from my 20s have been dead and gone for decades. But for timing and dumb luck, I'd be with them. As a result of the loss of control inflicted by a virus, I've given up planning for my life. But as a result of medical advances of countless researchers, I've also given up on giving up. I don't seem to be dying or even getting sick on schedule, so schedules be damned. I still wrestle almost daily with what to do with my perceived circumstances. What can I do for myself, for others? How much do I want to do? How much time do I have? How much strength? What's the aim, the meaning, the goal? Then it seems to me I might not be alone in this situation. So where does happiness come from? Can one be happy without achieving goals or getting somewhere one wants to be? Seriously, I don't know the answer to that. Happiness comes fleeting in and out of my life, still seemingly without notice and for the strangest of reasons. Between giving up my juvenile plans for greatness and sometimes even the basest of elder security, it's hard sometimes to even know if I'm happy or why. But I do think I am. For now, that's enough. A truly sterling example of positive thought put into practice with no rational expectation of a payout can be found in the story of the great South African statesman Nelson Mandela, now 94 years old and recently in the news in very delicate health. In an extremely simplistic narrative, Mandela sought redress for racial oppression all his life. Deeply and intractably involved in fighting against racial equality, he met frustration at every turn. He first embraced nonviolence, then later joined with the communists. Then he became a lawyer. How low is he willing to go? Finally, he adopted and targeted non-lethal terrorist acts against the government infrastructure. But people did die. And yet the apartheid government stood firm. Finally, he was tried and convicted for attempting to overthrow the government by force. Physically confined and cut off from contact with others for 27 years as an enemy of the state. He maintained his sanity by reciting from memory that little poem I opened with, gardening, and keeping a positive outlook. Think of that, 27 years of what was meant to be a life sentence. Yet when he finally was freed through international public pressure, he rose to become the president of a unified nation. Once again, to quote the great oracle Google, certainly Nelson Mandela had fears and could have chosen to live a quiet life. I'm sure his life was threatened many times. I'm sure he felt like giving up when going against centuries of history's racial inequality. I'm sure he felt regret and remorse for mistakes made, especially civilian casualties from violence. I'm sure he was tempted to concede defeat and surrender when imprisoned for 27 years. But he didn't. And in 1990, the then president of South Africa, F.W. de Klerk, ended apartheid and freed him. Nelson Mandela would go on to spend the next few years leading his political party and winning the 1994 presidential elections, the first universal suffrage elections in South Africa. In Mandela's own words, quote, "I am fundamentally an optimist. Whether that comes from nature or nurture, I cannot say. Part of being optimistic is keeping one's head pointed towards the sun, one's feet moving forward. There were many dark moments when faith in humanity was sorely tested, but I could not give up myself to despair. That way lays defeat and death." Unquote. So keep your thoughts positive, your spirit up, keep putting one foot in front of the other. Take comfort in the achievements of others and of all. Keep faith in the possibility that your dreams may be achieved, or not. It depends on so much that we cannot know. Positive thinking is not enough to make something real, but it is the one essential ingredient without which nothing is positive. We each are on a wonderful and unique journey all our own. That's what's important. Make the best of it. Keep moving forward. May it be so.
Our closing song is number 19, "The Sun That Shines." Again, stand if you're able.
Winston Churchill once said, "If you're going through hell, keep going."
Yes, join hands and as we extinguish our flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go and take action.
Join us for worship every Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua, a welcoming congregation. We are located at 3024 Cooley Road, 4 miles west of South Main Street, Canandaigua, just north of the intersection with Routes 5 and 20. Look for the blue signs just before the turn. Your comments about this program or questions about the church are welcome at 585-396-1370 or at our website, www.canandaiguauu.org. Producer and editor, Daniel Brigham.